It's Lee from coloringqueen.net, and today I thought we'd just do a simple colouring video, and I thought I would do the colouring tag, the get to know me tag, because I've never done it, and I thought it was a bit remiss, so I thought I'd answer the questions while I was colouring in this simple little dot picture from Sun Life Drawing. It's called One Colour Arts, Birds and Flowers. This is part of their free download that they're giving out. It's 40 pages and there's all these little free illustrations in there. So I'm just going to colour in some markers. I might colour this bird orange, I think. So, well, that's got a big tip on it. Too big for me. Jeez. What's this one? So the first question is, what is your name? Simple one. So my real name is Leanne and my real last name is King. So Leanne King. What is my nickname? So I've got two nicknames. So the first one is Lee, which is an abbreviation of my first name. And the second one is Queenie, which is the opposite of my last name, because in Australia we either add a Y to it or an ing, or we do the opposite. So if you've got red hair, you're called Bluey, and if you're King, you're Queenie if you're a girl. So Queenie. So that's why this channel is called Colouring Queen. It's not that I'm the colouring queen, that's definitely Joanna Busford, I would think, because it's just my nickname and my hobby incorporated into the one thing, and that's it. And I've used that nickname in other websites as well. It's just my go-to nickname. And it doesn't mean that I'm thinking that I'm good and the queen of anything by any means. It's just my nickname. I've had it since I was about 8 years old, and yeah, it's served me well over the years. I can always, tell by people who know me really well, who have known me since primary school, that because they're still calling me the same nickname all these years later, and it is definitely all these years. These one colour books, by the way, that you don't have to use one colour, I'm not going to, but they're so relaxing. Do you like your name? Absolutely not. I absolutely hate it. I hate Leanne with a absolute passion. Whenever I was in trouble, I'd always be called Leanne, which I absolutely hate the pronunciation of that. I hate everything about it, and I feel like it's a way too big of a name for me. I'm only 5'2", and that name seems far too long for someone that is pixie sized. So no, I absolutely hate it, and I've always used the abbreviation, which is what my stepfather used to call me, and I've always used that. But on all my professional documents and things, it's my real name, which, sometimes I end up at places and I get called my real name, which I absolutely hate. And it seems like it's too far away. You're in too deep in the job to say, please stop calling me that. It makes my back crawl every time you do. So, it goes on. And unfortunately with my last name, I can't really abbreviate it and go like Lee King, because then it's leaking, and that's a word of its own, and it sounds like I'm leaking everywhere, and as in one word rather than two. So I can't really change it, and yeah, so I'm kind of stuck with it and still using my full name for qualifications and things like that. But I absolutely hate it with a passion. And I remember once that I did try and use the abbreviation as Lee King, and I went to the pharmacy to pick up a script, and I was only young at the time. I was only 13, 14, something like that. And anyway, I asked for the script of Lee King, and they gave me Mr. Leaking's medication, and I didn't check it. Long story short, I ended up in the hospital having my stomach pumped. Wasn't good, and after that I never abbreviated it like that in a sort of professional situation, or I just have to put up with the awful name. I would have much preferred anything else, to be honest. Really hate it. Anyway, that's enough of how much I hate my name. And it's one more thing on the name, it's Lee. So I get a lot of YouTube comments and people call me all different variations of things like Leah and whatnot. And to be honest, I prefer anything other than Leanne. I absolutely hate that. But people come up with all sorts of variations. It's just an abbreviation of Leanne. It's just Lee. So, you know, like you call Sally Sal, or any sort of abbreviation. I think in Australia we're so used to abbreviating everything that sometimes it's hard to remember that maybe other countries don't do it quite so much as we do here. But we will abbreviate anything. Sometimes we even make it longer when we do. So the next question is, when is your birthday? So my birthday is April the 11th. I'm not going to tell you the year, but it was definitely pre-PC, pre-computers. I'm an Aries, and I am very much, if you read astrology and stuff like that, whether you believe it or not, anything they tend to write about Aries tends to be me to a T. So, you know, I'm very much the Aries fire sign. Definitely. Now, 3 favourite colours. Now, I'm not sure about this one because I don't know if the question relates to colouring or decorating or anything. So anyway, my 3 favourite colours to wear would probably be navy blue, black and grey, and maybe some purple and pink. Geez, that was more than 3, wasn't it? I can't make up my mind on that. My 3 favourite colours to colour in with are probably yellow, orange and pink. I don't know why, but I keep coming back to, every time I'm left to my own devices, I want to colour yellow and orange flowers all the time. And my 3 sort of favourite colours are, for the garden and things like that, would definitely be pink and all the different shades of pink and orange, red, white. Actually, I don't really have a favourite. I used to think for years that purple was my favourite colour, and I've noticed that over the years I've sort of become a pink person, which came as a bit of a shock to me because I never used to like pink that much, and I never liked yellow. So it's funny, it was always black, and got it any blacker than black. And so it's funny now that I'm liking the colours that most people liked when I was younger in my generation, but now I'm liking them when I'm older. So that's weird, but I guess I love gardening now, and I could never understand why people gardened and talked about it before, but I guess we all change. So what's the next question? My 3 favourite quotes. So I'm not sure if this is like quotes that are famous or quotes as in things that you say. So I'll give you a bit of both. So my 3 favourite things that I like to say is, it'll all work out in the wash. It is what it is. It's a dog's breakfast. And I'll give you a bonus one. I often say it's delicious, and it's just a little take on it's delicious. And the reason that I say that is because clearly I have no life whatsoever, and I've been cooped up here for so long by myself without any access to the outside world because I hadn't had a car until a few weeks ago. well, a week ago. So I used to start talking to Charlie, my little dog, before he passed away, and Millie, my cat. And not only do I talk to them, I also do their voices. Yes, I told you I have too much time on my hands. So Charlie had his own little voice that I used to do, and Millie has her own little voice. And so every morning when Millie would wake up, she would come in front of Charlie and she would flick her beautiful tail up at him. If you haven't seen Millie, she's a Himalayan and she's half Siamese and half Persian. So she's got the most delicious tail and she's got those beautiful little pantaloons. And from the back, I mean, her back side is honestly as cute as her front side. She is beautiful, beautiful. And so when she used to do that in front of Charlie, because I'd be waiting to get their bowls ready to feed them, I used to do his voice and say, "Oh, it's delicious, Mummy." And I did it better than that. I was laughing when I said that. And so, yeah, now we just say it about anything. It could be food or a plant or David fixing up the cupboard, and I go, "It's delicious." But it's Charlie that's saying it, not me, obviously. Charlie's spirit's saying it. Yeah, I have too much time on my hands. Millie's got a very autocratic voice. "Servants, you will come here and feed me. It's been 2 minutes and I'm starving." But Charlie had the sweet voice. So if it's quotes from other people, I really like the please and thank you from Parks and Recreation. I say that quite a bit. A show in Australia called Kath and Kim, where I often say it's nice, it's different, it's unusual. It's a sort of Aussie thing. And quote from Absolutely Fabulous that I've sort of made my own whenever I want David to make me a cup of coffee or whatever. I say, "Sweetie darling, make Mummy a cup of coffee, make me a cup of coffee, sweetie darling." And it used to be something Eddie would say to her daughter on Absolutely Fabulous. And I do it in Eddie's voice. I'm not doing it for you because you'll laugh at me. If it's quotes by famous people, I really like the quote. I thought Walt Disney said it, but I'm not sure. It takes teamwork to make a dream work. And I like a quote. I can't remember who said it, but out of every storm comes a rainbow. What's the other one? And a quote from John Lennon, which is, it's something like it becomes a mistake only if you don't fix the error. So something similar that I used to say to my students, because they were always worried about making mistakes. And I'd say to them, "Look, you know, I make more mistakes before breakfast than anyone. I'm just really good at finding them before anyone else does and fixing them up. And then I can sort of learn from them and hopefully never repeat that mistake again." And I always think of that as a learning experience. But some have been quite costly. So that's one of my favourites. Now, what's the next question? One quote that I say all the time to David, and I'll tell you this one, is, "You'll miss it if it's gone." So often we complain about things, you know, in everyday life, like say when Charlie was around and he'd take food out of his bowl and he'd put it on the floor to eat it, like the floor was his tablecloth, and you know, we'd have to clean up the floor afterwards. And you know, every now and again, not often, we'd sort of complain, and I'd always say he'd miss it if it was gone. And I tell you what, now that he's gone, I'd do anything to see that food over the floor. What's the next one? My favourite TV show, YouTube or movie. So I love Seinfeld, and I must have seen each episode of Seinfeld 100 times. I love Parks and Recreation. I love Absolutely Fabulous, Kath and Kim. I love a lot of British comedy like One Foot in the Grave, Keeping Up Appearances, Friday Night Dinner. I think it's hilarious. I've never got into The Office. I know people have, and I'm going to give it another whirl because I've tried. But I'll try and give that a whirl because it probably would appeal to my sense of humour. I love crime. I adore crime. Absolutely love it, love it, love it. And I've gone, progressed from lightweight crime like Enid Blyton with a murder type stuff to more blood and guts. So I love things like Criminal Minds. I love that sort of whole serial killer type thing. Wouldn't like to see one around here, but I do like it. And I really like Law and Order. And I do have a criminology degree, by the way, so I guess I've always had an interest in crime. And I love Law and Order. I love like CSI. If I was better at science, I would have liked to do forensic sort of science, but I'm sure it's not like on CSI. It's probably really boring every day. And knowing my luck, because I like to keep things clean, I'd probably vacuum up all the evidence and give it a good wipe down. So anything sort of murder, crime related. I used to like this series in the UK called Dalgleish, or Inspector Dalgleish or something like that. I even like the old Frost and Cracker and all of those UK crime shows, but I like other sort of blood and guts as well, like Strike Force. I really got into that. We were watching Banshee for a while, which was quite violent, and I found it too violent and I didn't want to watch it anymore. David could never understand seeing my fascination with crime, but sometimes it gets too blood and gutsy for me. So yeah, anything sort of crime, mystery related, things like that, really enjoy. On YouTube, I think my favourite YouTube channel would be Tim Ferriss. He has a podcast and a YouTube channel where he talks to people about their lives and their impact on the world. And they can be all sorts of people. They can be like Neil Gaiman or the writer, or they can be people like, mental blank, Noah Kagan from AppSumo. They can be all sorts of different people. I find it interesting who he interviews, and I like podcasts, but I haven't found one that I'm committed to. So I find with Tim, I just get a good variety. And the thing is, he makes you feel good. He just makes you feel good and makes you feel motivated, or just enjoy it. That's just me. I like weird things like that. And speaking of weird things, I love those documentaries on how things are made. I find that totally fascinating, like how you make glazed cherries or how you make tinsel or something like that. I find it really fascinating. I wouldn't like to work in one of those places every day, but I do find it very interesting. Now, what's the next question? 3 qualities you like in a best friend. Well, that would have to be loyalty, like someone that's just a fair weather friend, there for the good times. I'm not really interested in... I remember years ago someone said you could count your friends on one hand. You had a really good friend zone. And I remember thinking at the time, how ridiculous, I'd need all my fingers and toes. And then your life happens and things change or whatnot, and you grow apart. And now I'm wishing that I had a handful of people that I would call a really good friend, someone that you could call in the middle of the night, or someone that would pick you up if you ran out of petrol or whatnot. Because to be honest, I definitely don't have one in Brisbane since we've moved here, because I've been really confined to this house due to the lack of car and money and job and whatnot. And in Sydney, I think I would only be able to sort of count on maybe 2 people or 3 people, because everyone has, gone their separate ways. And most of it is my fault, because I was working obsessive hours and a lot of relationships just went by the by. But loyalty is definitely up there. The other thing would be a good sense of humour, someone that you can have a laugh with and that you share the same sense of humour. And the third quality, I guess, for me would be someone that has a strong moral compass. So someone that has good ethics and strong morals, I guess is the way of saying it. What's your dream? My dream would be to be able to do a few hours work every day from home, where I get paid nicely for it. And then with the other time that I have on my hands, to be able to renovate houses or even caravans, mini houses, do anything that involves power tools. And still have plenty of time in order to do community-based things. Like I've got a big section of grass out the front that council have said that I can make into a garden. I just have to put in a plan and tell them how drainage works and whatnot. I've got this like huge section out there, and I was thinking of making a community garden that had herbs and vegetables and stuff for people to use, because often the neighbours will come over if they need a herb or something, and they'll come over and get it from my garden. And I was thinking that, plus, you know, it's less lawn for me to mow if I made that into a garden, and it'd also be nice as a community thing. So doing things like that and having more time to spend colouring. I'd definitely love to have the time to follow some of these fabulous YouTubers and tutorials and really learn more and really get better at colouring. So definitely would love to do that. So that would be my ideal job, something like the 4-hour work week. And I am not lazy by any means. I am just exhausted. I've spent most of my life working either 2 or 3 jobs, and even when it's just one job, I've ended up working, 80 to 100 hours a week and getting totally burnt out on a fabulous career that you're meant to love. I absolutely hate now and became a burnt out, messed up just terrible, really. Be careful what you wish for, hey? So that would be my ideal. Now, next one is, do you wear makeup? No. I wear some lip balm or lip gloss, and that's about it. If I'm going out, like to a wedding or something like that, something fancy pants, I will slap on some tinted moisturiser. I'm sure that foundation products, etc., have changed over the years since I've last used them. I used to wear makeup to go to work, but I always found them very heavy on my skin, and also I'm not very good at putting it on, so I haven't used it. Now with my eyelashes, I always used to get eye infections from mascara and whatnot. So what I do is every now and again I will tint my eyelashes or dye my eyelashes. And in my 20s, which was many moons ago, I did a beauty therapy course for like a year or 2 years, something like that. It's one of those part-time things. And so I know how to tint my eyelashes and wax my legs and do all the rest of it. And so I just do that at home, and I do it myself. I do my eyes one at a time, and I just tint them myself. I seen some sparkles in my eyebrows the other day, and I thought, oh, they have to go. How dare they have fairy sparkles on them? I was trying to see if it was the light, but it wasn't. They were fairy sparkles. Next question. What makes you cry? Yeah, anything. I'm one of those emotional people that can cry at an ad on TV. Years ago, there used to be like a Hallmark ad where the little kid gave his piano teacher a birthday card or something like that. It used to tear me up every single time. And if there's ever a show about something really sad on TV, David lines up the tissue box at the ready, because I'll be crying my eyes out. But the things that often really make me cry aren't sad things. They're really happy things, really. Like when someone's really nice to somebody and they do something that's so kind. Like I'm in a Facebook group called The Kindness Pandemic, where people talk about just nice things that people do, like maybe pay their bus fare or things like that. And they talk about that, and often it just makes me cry because I think of these people, you know, that having this awful day, and then someone's just come along and done one nice thing for them, and it's made their whole day, you know. So things like that will make me well up and cry. And of course any sort of personal loss, etc. Any sort of cruelty will make me cry, especially cruelty to animals and the loss of an animal. That really tugs on my heartstrings. What makes me angry? Rude people make me angry because it's not necessary. You can catch more bees with honey than you can with vinegar. People that are really lazy make me angry. Like people that can't be bothered to look up something and they want you to do it all for them. That just makes me angry. Or maybe not angry, more annoyed. People that are cruel to either other adults, children, animals in particular, because they don't have a voice for them, especially young children as well. Any sort of abuse, whether it's emotional abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, or financial abuse, that really makes me angry. People that don't do the right thing by others, that can make me angry. Yeah, actually, I'm an angry little beast, aren't I? Well, most of the time it's like I'm highly annoyed rather than full-on angry. I have a slow burn, and when it does burn out, you know, that's when you're in trouble. Things that really get up my goat is people taking advantage of other people because they can or because they just want to. That really annoys me. People that just can't say anything nice, that can make me angry as well. Like it's so unnecessary to be cruel when you could actually be kind, or not actually be cruel in the first place. So yeah, those sorts of things make me either cross. But to be really angry, I think it's always a situation where someone more powerful is picking on or harming someone quite vulnerable, and that's when I will really get my guns blazing and go to town and really make your life a miserable. Because I have a slow burn, but when I'm pushed, you really just don't want to get in my way, because I get really angry and I will crush you if I can. Yeah, charming. Takes a long time to get me to that stage. What makes me happy? Well, I'm happy talking to you guys and spending time outdoors. If I had a horse and a llama or an alpaca in the backyard, a goat and another dog, I would be as happy as a little pig in mud. I absolutely adore spending time with animals, whether they're farm animals or domestic animals. I love animals, except for creepy crawlies and slitheries. Absolutely adore animals. I love being in the garden, which I never thought I would say. I love pottering around with my plants. I love colouring. I love spending time with David, whether it's just walking on the beach or something like that. I love the smell of horse manure and saddles. I grew up around horses. I had my own, and I love that smell, and that makes me really happy. When the activities were on where you could go to stables like the show and have a sniff, I was in there straight away sniffing up those beautiful saddle smells and those beautiful horse manure smells. I love it. It's weird. I won't make that into a perfume. Floating in the pool, walking, reading, they all make me happy. I love to read as well. So the next one, what is fangirling? So for me, fangirling is being excited over someone or something, and you go a little bit cray-cray and want their attention and get very excited if they respond to you in some way. So I guess that, for me, that's what fangirling is. Now, in the colouring world, I think the person that I would go fangirling about would be two people, actually. Daria Song. I think she's an amazing talent. I love her drawings, and I love the way that she colours, and she uses collage and paper and textiles, and she's just amazing. She's such a talent. She's really, really amazing. And of course, Joanna Busford. I think there was colouring books before Joanna brought out Secret Garden, but what I admire about Joanna is, first of all, her longevity, and the fact that she's been able to pivot and adapt to the changing colouring world, and that she took on the feedback from her first book and she really just pivoted, and she's owned the space for so long. Like, she could have not adjusted and not done things differently, like Ivy and her drawing book. She could have just, plodded along, and she's chosen her own path, and I really admire that. I think it shows great confidence and leadership. I think it's a wonderful thing to do, to be positive about your creativity and prepared to take a risk of alienating a huge market that you've built up. I really credit her for that. I really credit her for her marketing nous. Obviously she has publishers, but she still has to agree to these things, and the way that she has been able to repackage her work into different products, planners, calendars, notebooks, you name it. I think it's, a really, I admire her business acumen in doing that. Now, what else? My three favourite snacks. So a snack for me would be something outside of mealtime. So I guess my favourite snack would be chili chips. So I think in the UK you might call them crisps. So they're the chips in a bag. They're cold, not hot. And they're chili flavoured. So they've got chili spice all over them. I love those. I can eat them by the bag. There's a brand in Australia called Kettle Chips, and I really think they're the best chili chips ever. And they're my favourite, and oh, I love those. And of course, my other favourite snack would be chocolate, or any sort of chocolate-based product. I'm a bit fussy about my chocolate. I'm a cheap date, so I only like the Cadbury type stuff. I don't like your fancy pants Lindt or whatever. I do like Belgium chocolates though, but you've got to get them from Belgium on the day with the creme fraiche in them. They're beautiful, Leonardo's. I don't know if it's still there, but very nice. I just like cheap and cheerful chocolate, like a Cadbury Fruit and Nut, or a Snickers, or a peppermint crisp, or it's got like peppermint brittle in it. Any sort of chocolatey type thing. And my other favourite snack might be cheese and tomato on crackers. I have that quite a bit. And it's just pieces of cheese on whatever cracker biscuit we might have. And that usually keeps me pretty happy. Now, my three favourite foods is the next question. I'm not sure about this. Do they mean like a meal, or do they mean a cuisine? I'm going to take it as a cuisine. So my favourite cuisine would be Italian, and I love Italian food. Yummy, 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 yummy. And I can cook pretty good Italian, so I can get it whenever I want. And my next favourite food would be Lebanese. Love Lebanese food. Yummy, yummy, yummy. And I've tried making Lebanese food before, and it kind of takes all day in the kitchen. And I don't have a food processor, so I have to chop everything up by hand. And it takes so long. I'd really like to find a good Lebanese restaurant here in Brisbane. We used to have a couple in Sydney that were faves that I could go to get my Lebanese fix because I adore Lebanese food. Now, my next favourite cuisine is sort of a bit of a toss-up, really. I love Turkish food, and I also love Moroccan food. Yum, yum, yum. There used to be a great restaurant in Sydney where you could get Moroccan food. Not many of those around, but I haven't seen any in Brisbane since we've been here. Then again, I feel like I've been in prison while we're here and I haven't got out much and seen anything. So there might be a good one, I just haven't found it. And if we're talking favourite foods, I love a good fettuccine boscaiolo, which is Italian, and I love a good chips and gravy, which is just terrible for you, but it's my fave, so what can I say? And I love probably nachos or carrot cake or something like that, but I mean, carrot cake's not a meal. Could be. I love carrot cake. And Miss Millie is in the house. So come on, Millie. Let mummy continue the colouring. So the next one is, what is it? Your 3 favourite drinks. So first one would be coffee. I love coffee. The second one would be green tea, and the third one would be water. No, don't do that, darling. Mummy's trying to colour. Sparkling water, plain water, tap water, I don't really care, as long as it's just water. Haven't had any today, actually. I need to get on to that. What's the next one? Tell us a little about yourself, 10 random facts. Okay. Random. I spent most of my childhood on a horse. So either a stock horse or a show horse, and I bought the horses myself as well as all the saddles and whatnot, because by the time I was about 8 or 9, I used to either make cakes or I'd make weave things or do crafty things, string art, macrame, and there was a craft store up the road. They'd take things on consignment, and so I'd put my jewellery or whatever I'd made up there and they'd sell it for me. And on the weekends I had a market stall and used to sell cakes, etc. I saved up to buy my first horse that way and to pay for horse riding camps, and then went through it all again to buy the saddles and the bridles and everything else that you needed for a horse. I never got pocket money, by the way, so that's why I was entrepreneurial, if you like. And then I did it all again so that I could buy another horse, a show horse. And yeah, I just did that, I don't know, for most of my teenage years. Another random fact, I used to own a coffee shop in the inner city of Sydney. Had that for about 3 years, and I worked in it and owned it as well. Had about 14 staff at one stage. It's quite a lot. Another random fact, when I was younger, I studied phonetic and took exams in that, etc. Another random fact, I also studied drama, and I was going to go to NIDA, which is in Sydney in Australia. I lived in the country at the time, but my boyfriend at the time didn't want me to leave and go to Sydney. Now here's the kicker. Guess where he went when we broke up? And stupid me for not going, seriously. But I wouldn't have been a good actor, I don't think, anyway, you know, but it was nice to have the opportunity. One of my favourite plays that I was in quite a few, was Alice in Wonderland. And guess who was Alice? Yes. My mother made my costume for me, and it was absolutely beautiful. I wish I still had it. Wish I could fit into it. I wish I had photos or something, because it was really lovely costume. And I, of course, loved being Alice in Wonderland because I love Alice. But I was in a lot of other plays, etc. I learnt classical piano when I was younger, and I did all the exams that you needed to do in it. I absolutely hated it. Never wanted to do classical piano, and I always swore that I would never play the piano again. And to this day, I won't even lean on a piano if there is one in the room. I will not even play you chopsticks. I absolutely hated it, and yeah, I was very happy never to touch it again. Very happy. And I still feel that way. And the other day I was a bit surprised because I seen some music and I could still read it. And I thought, I haven't completely forgotten all those years of pounding the ivories, but I don't want anything to do with it. What's another random fact? I've written about 18 books, most of which I sold the rights to, so other people can put their name on it, and it seems like theirs. So it's called white labelling, or PLR, private label rights. So they're on all different sorts of things. What's another random fact? I've got absolutely no relatives, so I don't have any parents, sisters, brothers, nephews, nieces, cousins, whatever. Well, not that I know of. Another random fact is that I have a very sort of non-normal, what's normal though, hey? Upbringing. I was in my mother's care until I was about 12 or 13, and at that stage my brother, that was 6 years older than me, he was put into care some years before, and then when I was about 12 or 13 I was put into care, and I had the option of going to a few different places. My home science teacher, cooking teacher, had offered to take me in, and so had some other people that I didn't know, and a family friend also had offered, and he had raised my brother, and so I thought that might be the best option. So it was only meant to be temporary, but it was 5 years. And so I went with that option because he'd raised my brother before my brother was put into a group home or something like that. I'm not sure what word it is anyway. And so I was there with this guy that was a bachelor, had never had children, never had a girlfriend, and he was, you know, a lot older than my mother, and so I kind of brought myself up with. I never had anyone to discuss sort of female issues with, and so in retrospect it probably would have been better to go with my home science teacher, and I've been trying to find her so that I can thank her for everything that she did for me when I was younger that I didn't appreciate at that point in time. But I haven't been able to locate her, but I keep trying. And when I talk about my stepfather, that's who I'm talking about. So he was made my guardian and until I was 18 when I moved out of home into my own flat. I do everything backwards in my life, so when everyone else was going off to uni, I couldn't pay for it. So I moved into a flat and got a job, etc. I'm absolutely obsessed with Betty Boop, and I have got a ton of Betty Boop stuff in storage. And I can't wait one day to see it. I've even got original Betty Boop film cells. And this was all collected before the internet for a lot of it. So I used to have to write to people and they'd write back to me, and sometimes people that had written books about Betty Boop, they'd send me stickers and things like that, and so really treasured, you know. And people that were going overseas would bring me back things. So it was really nice. So I think that's 10, is it? I don't know. One more. I love being in the pool, and we've got one here at this house, and I really enjoy spending time in it, but I actually can't swim. Yes, I'm Australian and I cannot swim. I can do underwater, and David has been trying to teach me how to swim, but it's a bit like when your partner teaches you how to drive. It's not the best thing for a relationship often. Now, what's the next one? I'm trying to colour around a cat too, by the way. 3 fun things that I like to do. So colouring, renovating, upcycling furniture. I used to love making mosaics, but unfortunately when I broke my wrist several years ago now, it's very hard for me to hold the tile nippers in my hand anymore. Best describes where you live. So I live in the northern suburbs of Brisbane, Australia, which is a subtropical area of Australia. So it's a bit surprising when it gets cold here, because usually it's about 19 or 20 degrees even in winter. But some of these mornings have been like 12 degrees or less, and it's like really cold. 3 fun things I like to do. Best thing. What's my crafty style? So I'll take that as what's your colouring style. And at the moment, I really don't believe that I have one. I'm still working out and groping my way in the dark of the colouring community, and trying on different styles and seeing if they fit and see what I like to do. I'm a very moody colorist, so sometimes I just like to colour a mandala, and sometimes I like to colour a picture that I might fiddle around with for a month on and off, and that might require more detail, but I'm very moody. And, you know, I'm just learning. So my most used tool in the colouring world would be my coloured pencils, and it would be my Prismacolors. I use those quite a lot because they're very soft on your hands, and I still have this pesky wrist injury because I'm too wussy to go and get it rebroken and put into hospital, so no thank you. I guess that's a random fact that you should know about me, is that I have a phobia or anxiety disorder, and it relates to needles, and I've kind of expanded it over the years to incorporate anything medical, so it just sends me into a meltdown, and so that's enough of that one. My most wished for crafty or colouring item, I really have, you know, what I need, but if I had a visit from Santa, who never stops in here, and I don't imagine he will now, it would probably be the Felissimo 500 pencils, because I really want to see what they compare like to my 150 ones. And if I could just get a box full, I'd be happy, but the 500 would make a lovely decoration, and if it's a wish, you may as well go the whole hog. Other than that, probably the Schifferfarben new set of 96, because mine are a bit worn down from the previous set. And what else? Maybe the rest of the Copics. the new Black Widow Monarchs or those Arteza pencils. Any of those, but they'd all be good. My favourite brand in colouring world would be Prismacolor, because I love my Prismacolor pencils, but you know, maybe if I had the money, I'd love to try more of the Caran d'Ache products, but at the moment I'm happy enough with my Prismacolors, and I've got lots and lots of pencils and whatnot. I will never run out, so there's no need to wish for anything else. And if we're talking books, then it would be Clara Makova's books. Every single one of her books makes me cry those happy tears. What's the other one? What's your favourite craft? So colouring, and it used to be mosaics, and specifically I used to like making mosaic tables. We will never have a big enough house for the amount of mosaic tables that I have in storage. Because that was just like my stress relief, and everything is just making tables. I didn't like to smash up tiles, etc., and lay them down, or plates. I like to hand nip out all my work, and sometimes I would even make my own handmade tiles with pictures on them and paint them and get them kiln fired and then nip them out. So, but I only did that for sort of wall art or things like that, not for tables. I'd use the scraps on tables, but I used to love making tabletops that had a pile of flowers all over it, and I'd hand cut out each petal and all the centres. Do I have any pets? At the moment we have Millie, and unfortunately my beautiful little Charlie across the Rainbow Bridge. Over 2 months now, but it feels like yesterday. The pain is still very raw, but we're very lucky that we adopted Millie last year, and that we still have her, and she's a beautiful little pussycat. She has improved so much since we adopted her, and I hope she loves us as much as we love her. It's hard to tell sometimes because she's got like a little mouth deformity, so it always looks like she's frowning, but it's just her little deformity on her mouth, which I think is cute and charming. Yes, Mummy loves you. My favourite time to craft, that would be evening, when all the things are done for the day and I can just relax. It doesn't often happen that way, but that would be my favourite. My favourite non-crafty YouTube channel, that would be Tim Ferriss that I mentioned before. My favourite store, it would be Amazon. Really, it's got everything it needed. If only Amazon Japan would stop geo-blocking Australia, I would be a happy little monkey. What's the next one? My favourite restaurant, it's an Italian restaurant in Sydney. I haven't been to any restaurants in Brisbane as yet, although there was a beautiful pub that we went to at Woodley Point, and it had this gorgeous sunset and open scene, and plus you could take your dog, so that was very nice. But I don't think I've got a favourite restaurant. The next one, my favourite magazine. I stopped buying magazines a long time ago, except for the Colouring Heaven that I get sent to me. So that would be definitely my favourite colouring magazine. I think it's outstanding quality compared to the ones that we get here in Australia that I don't buy anymore. My favourite non-colouring magazine, if I was going to buy it, would be Delicious, which is a magazine with recipes in it, cooking, etc. My favourite author, well, I'll read pretty well anything. At the moment I'm reading Patricia Cornwell, but I do like sort of text-based books, or not textbooks, but sort of business self-improvement type books. So I love Michael Gerber's The E-Myth Revisited, and I love Eli Goldratt's The Goal, Jim Collins' Good to Great, even The Art of War by Sun Tzu. What else? Tim Ferriss's 4-hour books, like the 4-Hour Work Week. I really love that one. I must read that again one day. A lot of sort of business motivational type books I enjoy. I do like reading textbooks too. It's a quirk. We all have our quirks. I like learning things, so if I can learn one thing out of a book, I'm happy, or if it reminds me of something I already knew, I'm happy. I feel I've got my value. And the same with a TV, documentary or whatnot, or, you know, even like a little show on TV, like a gardening show or whatever. They might remind you of something that you already know, and it just puts it back in the top of your memory box again. So anything that I can learn, I'm happy with. My favourite shoes, that would be my riding boots, and they still fit me. My feet are shrinking so much, it's unbelievable. I'm going to be in the kiddies aisle soon for shoes, which is great because I seen last time they had some fabulous Minnie Mouse ones, and I want those. So I think it'll be about a year or two before my feet will actually fit into them. But they are shrinking. Seriously, they are shrinking. Unless they've changed all the sizing. So it'd have to be my riding boots. If I was going out somewhere, yes, I would wear high heels because I'm only 5'2", and I do like to reach the bar if we're going somewhere. But other than that, I just like comfortable shoes. I'm sitting here in my slippers at the moment. If I was outside, I'd probably be in my scuffs or in thongs, flip-flops. So yeah, just things that are easy, comfortable, and generally flat shoes if I'm not going anywhere. If it's somewhere fancy, I will put my feet through the torture to have some strappy high heels on. But other than that, it's not happening. And my favourite time of year? Well, it used to be more autumn, spring. I know I used to like the cold and snuggling up, but I think the old bones are aching and they're not liking it so much. And also I've got all these plants that will come out in spring, so I'm thinking my favourite time of year now is probably spring, because I want to see if my flowers come up, and the weather is not too hot up here in summer in Brisbane for me. It's very humid and I sweat, which I dislike intensely, and it's far too hot for me to spend time out in the garden after like 6:30 in the morning. I just want to hide inside with the aircon, whereas spring and autumn and winter up here are just beautiful. So yeah, I think spring would have to be the favourite. So I think I've answered all of the questions. I'm sorry if some took a bit longer, and I'm sorry if I went off on a tangent. Now, I can't remember who originated this tag, but I'll write out the questions below if anyone else would like to do it. And so 36 questions, I think. And yes, so I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about me, and even about all of my anger, built up anger there. And until next time, stay safe and happy colouring.